Hi guys, Dave Pinson here, Philippine Bible Ministry. Um, how does the devil steal our children? The devil steals our children, and when I say "our," I mean believers. I'm not trying not to keep. I had to redo this video because it was too personal the time before, and I don't want to post anything that personal because there's other people involved. We want to make this what's truly a tragedy is that last time I looked, and that George Barna is the one I use. He's a Christian, I guess you say pollster, but it's deeper than polls. He does research into the church and what people believe and how they act and what they do in the church in America. That's his number one claim to fame, and he's been doing this for a long time. And he's very good at it, and it's kind of sad. If you read it, it might switch your mind a little bit about what you think is happening in America because it's true facts. Facts are stubborn things, as that famous communist Joseph Stalin said. The one good thing he said, maybe, but it's true. It is true. So anyway, what he said was half of the kids raised in the church that go away to college fall away. Half. Okay, let me say that again, very slowly. This could be about your children or your grandkids or somebody. Half of the kids raised in church, when they go away to college, fall away from the Lord. Right? Now, two things come to mind. First of all, I know I've seen lately there's evidence of non believing kids. When I say kids, I'm talking about youth, 20 years old, 20s, let's say 20s, maybe early 30s, are actually coming to the Lord. So, so you have a loss over here. Nature hates a vacuum. You have a gain over here. But if you raise your child up in the fear and admonition of the Lord, you're brokenhearted if they find another path. Yes. Um, so it's a sad thing. So why? How does that happen? Why is that happening? What can we do about it? Well, another thing I've seen. So let's get into it. That's what I forgot to say. That I like saying that. I picked that up of some football guy, blogger. Um, so one of the things I've seen is other research I've seen is that the reason that they fall away is because their parents don't live it out. So this is pretty, and this dovetails nicely into everything I'm always saying. What I call churchiosity. This dovetails nicely into what, not just me, Leonard Ravenhill, A.W. Tozer, lots of people say about the church in America. Matter of fact, Ravenhill this morning I was reading says you don't have to worry about America falling because she fell a long time ago, and I agree with them. But even the church is not what it could be. Let's just put it that way. Maybe your church is better. But he said, hang on a second. Oh yeah. So the reason being is because their parents they go to church and they say all these wonderful things, but then they don't live it out. They're hypocrites, right? Or they say, we're going to give everything to him, and we love him, and then they go home and cuss each other out, and, or they steal, or they not necessarily that drastic, but they just don't live out what he says, deny yourself. Well, they don't deny themselves. They have really nice houses, really nice cars. They go on boat trips, what do they call those, cruises? They're just living the life like everybody else, except they go to church. They might as well go to Kiwanis Club, or it doesn't matter. Um, so when the kids see their parents do that, then when they get old enough to go away to college or whatever, they're just like, well, why am I going to do that? I'm not going to be a fake person. That's the way they think. I'm not going to be a fake person like my mom and dad. I'm gonna go do what I want. And then say, I've also heard it said, and this was like since this has been going on a long time. I'm not making this up, but this is not new. Those quote unquote Christian colleges, a lot of kids go to those and then they say, okay, this is it. Thanks for being here. Here's our curfew is 10 p.m. lights out. Everybody, this is what we do. We're serious. So 10 p.m. lights out. They all sneak out and go to the clubs. Start doing everything else. Girls are getting pregnant. They're people are dying from drug overdoses. Just ask Toby Mac about that one, right? So yeah, why do all these things happen? Well, that might be one reason. I can't speak to you in your situation, and I'm just telling you some general thoughts, right? The other thing, what happens is in my case, well, okay, I just made it personal. Sometimes a marriage could dissolve, and there could be trauma for the child. And here you've told them all the time, this is what we do, and this is what we believe, and this is what I'm going to do. And then it doesn't happen, and their world can be destroyed, and they don't trust the Lord anymore. That's very common. I just, sometimes a death in the family, or people lose everything, and they thought, well, I thought God was good all the time, and He's not protecting me. Well, He never promised to protect all that to begin with. But yeah, so there's all kinds of reasons, right? And then I just want to say one more thing about it, that where people are um, confused. People take things out of context. One of my pet peeves about believers is that they'll take a verse out of context and they'll try to make it mean what they want it to believe instead of what it actually says. Because sometimes some of the stuff in there is pretty strong, pretty harsh. I'm always saying those are not the refrigerator promises. Nobody has a T-shirt, nobody has a bumper sticker that says, "In this world you will have tribulation." Like people don't want to hear that stuff, right? Or deny yourself, or sell everything, all the stuff, right? So that in the Proverbs it says, "Train up a child in the way they will go, and when they're old, they won't depart." So I always thought, well, I never really thought about it, but I heard a lot of people say, "Well, yeah, but if you raise up your kids and they fall away, they'll come back because the proverb says when they're old, they won't fall away." Well, so let's just talk about logic and grammar here, what it what it really says. First of all, the proverbs are just general wisdom. They're not like laws of nature, or like it's not like if you drop something it falls, like the law of gravity. It's not like that. These are general wisdom ideas. Like this probably should happen most of the time, If you plant corn, you'll probably get corn, It's just normal things, right? But what it's saying is raise up a child in the way she, and when they are old. Okay, read my lips. When they are old, they will not fall away. What does that mean? It doesn't say nothing about them falling away when they're kids or youth. It doesn't say that at all. It says when they're old. So what it says is what it really says. If you want to break it down in the logic and the grammar and the a good way to exegete that thing and look at it and what does it mean? It means if you raise up a child in the ways of the Lord and they don't fall away, when they're old, they won't fall. That's all it means. It doesn't. So once they reach my age and they're old, like I'm not just going to go, well, I'm done. Now, once again, this is not like the law of gravity. There are a lot of people my age have fallen away, right? And that brings up a whole bunch of other questions which we don't have time to talk about right now, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean what you think it means. So raise them up, pray for them, talk to them, try to keep open, right? Try to live out your faith. That's the number one thing you can do. Why do you think we're talking about being disciples? That's what this whole YouTube channel is about, is being disciples of Him. So how do you do that? Well, stay tuned. God bless you guys. Ta-ta for now.